Сайн байцгаана уу хүнд үзэгчдээ. Өнөөдөр бид Францын Orano компани төлөөлөн удирдах зөвлөлийн дарга ноён Klod Имовен уулзч байна.
Klod Имовен Orano группийн төлөөлөн удирдах зөвлөлийн дарга. Тэрээр политехникийн сургуульд төгссөн үйлдвэрлэлийн инженер мэргэжилтэй. 1983 онд Францын хажуул дүрийн яамнаас ажлын гараагаа эхэлж, гадаад худалдаа үйлдвэрлэлийн яам болон төрийн захиргааны байгууллагад хэд хэдэн удирдах албан тушаал хашиж байсан. Мөн Сайнт Гобин корпорацид ажуул дүрийн бодлого хариуцсан дэд ерөнхийлөгч, санхүү хариуцсан дэд ерөнхийлөгчөд ажиллаж байсан. 2017 оноос Orano группийн захирлаар ажиллаж, 2020 оноос эхлэн тус группийн төлөөлөл удирдах зөвлөлийн даргаар ажиллаж байна.
Хамбогдуул хатан туулгуулын хөвөндөх цэнгэг агаартай бүсэд байрлалтай. Хүүхдэд ээлтэй хотхны төлөвлөлт болон эвл амьдралын хэм маягийг эрхэмлэгч та бүхнийг King Tower апартментийн 5-р элчин орон сууцнд урьж байна. Амар тайван амьдрал. Аян давтагдсан шүү.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
Welcome to Mongolia.
Thank you very much.
I remember we last time met a year before in Nan when we have opened this
with this wonderful exhibition.
Genghis Khan exhibitions.
Great success in France.
Yep. Now it's still going on in Mongolia. Now soon it's going to be in the Czech Republic. So this time you came to Mongolia as not only chairman of the Orano board, but also a head of the delegation, big, large large companies delegations. So tell us about this group.
Yeah, actually, as you mentioned, I am chairman of the board of Orano, but I am also the chairman of the France-Mongolia Business Council of MEDEF International. That is, this MEDEF International is the biggest network of companies in France, where you have all the sector are represented. And we fostered the relationship between France and foreign countries. The last visit of such a delegation was in 2012, so it's a while.
Wow, okay.
So I'm very happy to have this occasion. For me, it's my first visit to Mongolia, but we have it's the symbol of the new interest of the French company for Mongolia. So you have a big delegation with almost 30 persons and 18 companies in different sectors. Obviously, Orano is member of this company, but you have a cutting-edge company, like aeronautics, electronics, transportation, very diverse and very active.
And I understand after 12 years, businesses from France come into Mongolia because there are several more interests. And
I think the visit of our president, President Macron, to Mongolia and President of Mongolia to France has given a new dynamic to the relationship. And I'm looking forward to having new opportunities, and it's really a good momentum today.
So I understand now the business cooperation between two countries on the road up.
Yeah, they are.
And one of the clear indication of that is Orano.
Sure.
We have been talking, and with Orano now, what is the situation now of your and Mongolian government business deal at the moment?
Yes. First of all, some word of presentation of Orano. As you know, Orano is the leading company in the cycle of the nuclear fuel, which is present in all the segments: mining, conversion, refining, enrichment, and recycling. There are not so many actors worldwide. And
Orano is 9% of the world, second largest player of uranium production.
Exactly.
Right?
And we have been active in Mongolia to prospect, to see the deposit. Now we know that there is a deposit. We are
which you have discovered.
We have discovered, and we have this land, which this permit, and now we are really in the core of the topic, and we have to settle, let's say, the legal agreement to put into production the extraction of this mine that we call Zöөвч Ovoo. It's in the province of Eastern Gobi. And for that, we have to have a legal frame, and this legal frame is going to be discussed in the parliament. So we are really at the cutting edge of the topic.
Let's talk about, first of all, this Zöөвch Ovoo mine, which you have discovered, the uranium deposit in Mongolia. You have been working for quite some many years.
Yeah.
And now you have already tested that you can produce uranium, right?
Exactly.
Or yellow cake.
Exactly. We have in the place, I'm going to go there the day after tomorrow. In the place we have what we call a pilot. It's like a small plant, miniature plant, who had demonstrated that with the technology we are going to use in this place, we are able to produce this yellow cake.
How big would be after that? Now this is the pilot project, but how big will it be?
It will be much bigger, obviously. But it's not, such a big plant, because the technology that we use, called ISR, doesn't need a lot of land and space, because we are getting to take the uranium in the form of a fluid that we are treating. So it's the impact on the environment will be very, very low. So it's a very good project. And as you know, there is a special momentum today in the world with uranium, because the people are conscious that we have to be active on global warming, and that with uranium you have a completely carbon-free energy, and it's I think it's very important also for the image of the country, so that Mongolia is going to be one of the actors, in the production of uranium.
So with the production, Mongolia is going to be one of the largest green energy producer, right?
Exactly. I know that you have a lot of sun and you have photovoltaic and so on, but then with uranium you will tick another box, in this field of decarbonized energy, which is...
In terms of reserve of this ore deposit, how big is this, and is Mongolia going to be a large player in the uranium
It will be a significant player. Obviously, at worldwide level, you have some big players like Canada or Kazakhstan, which is a neighbor. But as to us, we plan production for the next 30 years.
Next 30 years, they work. Wow. And how much money will it require?
The money we'll see with the price of the uranium. But, today the price is very high. So I think it's a good news for Mongolia, because we are going to bring value to the country. Obviously, you will have local workers, a lot of added value in the community where we are, because everywhere in the world when Orano is mining, it creates value for the rest. We have all the chain of subcontractors who will be Mongolian, obviously.
Interestingly, Kazakhstan president nowadays in Mongolia.
And next week he will be in France.
In France, I see. And Kazakhstan is one of the largest producers in the world.
It is.
Of the uranium in the world. After you come in and invest into the uranium field in Kazakhstan, what was the social change or production or economic impact you have made in Kazakhstan?
Well, as I mentioned, at the level of the communities, it's a very positive impact, providing good paid jobs, obviously, but also, being active with the communities. For instance, we have participated in operation of reforestation. We are very active with the community, with education, we are helping and so on. And also, and everywhere when we are, we have highly educated people that have opportunity of jobs also abroad. We have Kazakh people that have responsibility abroad, and I'm sure that in the future we will have people from Mongolia having high responsibility within the company.
That's what's happening with Rio Tinto, the number one largest.
Exactly.
Now many Mongolians are working as executive abroad in other countries.
It will occur the same for Orano here in Mongolia. Because when you are present in such a long time, you have time to educate people, and internally, externally, and to provide business opportunities.
You have been just talked about reforestation. What does the reforestation mean for Orano, and what you do, for example, in Kazakhstan, and most importantly, from where the money is taken?
Well, the money is taken from the resources of the company, obviously, because in the different agreement we have, obviously, for a country, there are some financial return, which is proved, but also some local actions. In the case of the Kazakhstan, we have committed to replanting some local trees. It's called saksaul.
Okay. It's the only tree that is grown in Gobi.
Exactly.
Yes. Speaking about that, the recovery fund. Usually, companies create separate accounts somewhere, and they keep every year, depending on the size of production, keep certain share into particular fund. Is it the same in Mongolia?
The logic is the same. Then all the technical, financial, juridical has to be discussed with the government, but the logic is more or less the same. When you have such a long-term project, you have to make provisions in order to be sure that you will have the money to recuperate the natural state.
And it's also a certain way, it has to do with the community development of the set area, right?
Completely.
What kind of things you have in mind? Or usually you do it?
It depends of the country and of the interest of the population. Some population, for instance, are more into agriculture. It's not exactly the same, or cattle breeding and so on. So, the impact on the landscape is very little. It's not like when you have an open pit or a mine where you have to displace a lot of ground and so on. In this case, you see almost everything. When you take the different tubes out of the ground, it's the same natural appearance.
Okay, since Orano is one of the largest player in a full circle of uranium production, from exploration, mining, developing, and all the way through even the recirculation, right? Even if the waste fuel is reprocessed again. Once you have this whole circle, I cannot but ask questions about the perspective Mongolia is thinking about having one day not only producing yellow cake, which you are going to do, but also to have nuclear power stations. Partially we talk with Russia now. What do you think that perspective?
Personally, I think it's a good idea. Obviously, we are not producer of reactors and of nuclear plants, but we are just a part. Actually, we have customers worldwide. We sell our fuel to Americans, to the EDF, the French company, but also to Korean, to Japanese, and so on. So I think that it's clear that today that nuclear is regaining, faith among the public. You have probably read what happens in the United States with this big GAFA company taking shares, in nuclear. So that's probably a very good choice. Actually.
I'm asking it because you, before as Areva, you are part of Areva. It was you have already separated, I know. But Areva was the whole producing also nuclear.
Exactly. It's not the case of Orano, but
and Areva is also owning certain percent of Orano, right?
Today, no.
Not anymore.
Completely separated.
Oh, I see.
Areva in itself today is a void company. But the component of Areva, which was manufacturing reactors, still exists. It's part of EDF, and it's called Framatome. So this part still exists and still manufactures reactors. For instance, the French one, Flamanville, and the British one is in construction, is done with French technology by Framatome, which is a part of EDF. So it still exists. And I'm sure that if there is a project in Mongolia, the French companies will be interested in.
Okay.
And us as a fuel supplier, we are interested by all the projects.
Yes. So Orano is separate from that.
Completely.
Part. Yeah.
Completely.
And you all the way go from you find, mine, develop, and enrich uranium.
Exactly.
All the way to the fuel, right? Uranium.
Completely to the fuel, yes. And then when the fuel is used,
yes,
for the country we have chosen to reprocess, we reprocess. For instance, for France, for Japan, and so on.
Is it true that nowadays even the West could be converted into also next energy? Well,
theoretically, yes. Then you have to put theory into practice, and there are many companies in Europe, in France, but also in United States. We are working, this kind of project are called SMR or AMR.
Yeah, small medium reactors.
We use what you call waste. We'll say the end of the tail in a way. We call that actinides, who today are considered as waste, but with new kind of reactor, what we call rapid sodium, could be used as fuel. Yes,
I see. Because Rosatom, who is the same producer as you are, is also interested. Mongolia is also interested in developing the project of creation, small, medium, modular nuclear reactors.
The Americans are doing that on the private basis. Rosatom is doing. The Chinese are doing also. France, we have several projects. We are part of an alliance at the European level with these actors to think of what could be the fuel for the future. Because some of them will use plutonium, which is a side product of this recycling, but in which form, there are several technologies, and Orano obviously as a major fuel supplier is part of this reflection and cooperation.
Uranium as an energy source is almost half of the France.
Today, France on the electricity part, the nuclear is from 70 to 75%.
Wow!
And within the total of electricity, 10% come from reprocessed fuel. Because already in France we use when we have the capacity of reprocessing, and we reuse it. We use the plutonium that comes from reprocessing with depleted uranium. We make new fuel. So 10% is already recycled.
I understand. In France itself, you have completely processed whatever you have. The south of France, you have sites, former plants, nuclear energy plant. Now completely a forest, the lakes, etc.
We are completely. France. I remember when I was young and working for the French Ministry of Industry, we had mines in France, uranium mines, and you can go and visit how they are. It's just land, farms, and beautiful places.
Was it the same before when you were producing?
When we were producing, it was a mine, so you have
same technology that you used?
No, it was more in a way harmful, in a way that you had to excavate and so on.
It's open pit.
Open pit and underground mines. It was more complicated, but the technology that is going to be used in Mongolia is really harmless. You see nothing because.
I see that. And
have you had the opportunity to visit?
Yes.
So you know that.
Not the site in Mongolia, but the site in France.
Okay, fine.
Soon I'm going to visit the site.
You should be interested also to see the site in Kazakhstan, because it's very similar. Because the landscape is the same and the technology is the same. It's just to drill some holes.
I mean, theoretically, I was introduced. I will be happy.
But it's good to see it, and especially for the people living in the neighborhood to see that it's not harmful.
And now with renewed interests back in green energy, including nuclear energy. In Europe, some places are reopening the plants.
It's true.
And all around the world, there is a big tendency to create more the power.
Definitely.
How long it will go on, what will depend it's on, because at times it will stop.
Yeah, you are right, and I thought a mistake even in France, and President Macron has reaffirmed, the policy of France, which is clear now. France is going to build 6 new nuclear plants, plus 8 more. And at the beginning of this year, it has been reaffirmed also the choice of France of reprocessing. So it's clear for France. And although we have had political election and we are going to have another one, it's generally speaking a transpartisan topic in France. There are some opponents, but they are in minority in France.
In general, the society is accepting.
Is accepting. A majority of the French say accept nuclear and consider that it's a good way to have a cheap, reliable, and it's good for the sovereignty of the country. I think things have changed with the war of Russia against Ukraine. Because you have a sudden increase in the price of gas and so on. And the people had the consideration that being independent in your energy is important.
After having very cold winter.
Exactly.
A couple of years ago.
It's important to have a order of magnitude when you talk about uranium and so on. 100 gram of uranium has the energy power of 1 ton of oil. So 100 gram of uranium, which is 1 gram of plutonium, if you want, it's 1,000 kilos.
It's a half glass of uranium.
So it's a very concentrated energy. So with that, you are allowed to have stocks, very long stocks. Now you don't speak in months; you speak in years. So it's very important. And today, even the United States, who have stopped their program, says it was a mistake. And all the provision, of electricity consumption are soaring up, because not only because we are going to have the electrical vehicle, but also, with the IT, intelligence, AI, artificial intelligence is very energy consuming. That's probably the reason why those GAFA, Microsoft and Tesla and so on, wants to take shares in nuclear plants and so on, because they know that they are going to have a very great quantity of electricity. And as a nuclear, which is good also, is a very stable energy. You don't depend on the good weather, sun, or that's a problem with our friend in Germany, that they have bet a lot, closed many nuclear plants, and bet on sun and wind, which is good. It's renewable is good, but when you have no sun and no wind, what do? They use coal plant, which is not very good for the planet.
Yeah, that's why for the new AI and big data and processing center, you need more reliable,
huge quantity,
and cheaper energy, right?
Exactly.
The uranium is also used for medicine.
Exactly.
And I understand Orano is also doing something.
Probably. Have you read in the press? We have reached an agreement recently with the big French company Sanofi, which is a leading health pharmacy. We have taken a share in our subsidiary. It's a small subsidiary. We develop a special therapy against cancer called alpha therapy. It uses an isotope of lead, the lead 212, to go straight forward to the tumor and nothing else, because that's a kind of radiation which can be stopped by a sheet of paper. So you put it...
So small radiation.
It's very powerful, but with a small radius.
And directed to particular tumor to stop the growth.
And we have developed this therapy in the US. We are already in phase 3, and it's very promising. That's the reason why Sanofi took a share, put
I understand you have a lab in Texas.
We have a lab in Texas, and we are going to open next month. I will be for the grand opening for the first stone of the facility where we are going to produce the LED 2012.
Well, in France?
In France, in Bessines, which is the a former mine, by the way.
Yeah, former mine.
Former mine, which is now
former your mine. Yes,
exactly.
And you turned out also have 3 to 4 uranium mine in Canada.
It's true. There was a very, very big quantity of uranium, very concentrated. Yeah.
And you had one also in Nigeria, or you have it?
In Nigeria,
yes.
Which is today in a political turmoil. So, unfortunately, the operation are a little bit mothball, waiting that things be clearer with the government, because the country is closed today. We cannot export.
So, as a Mongolians, we really looking for very reliable energy, electric energy. We now a lot dependent on our neighbors, and
that's
we look
perfect.
for different source of energy.
Give you an example. Finland. Finland was dependent 100% on Russia for gas.
Like gas.
Now they have bought some years ago from Areva, by the way, a nuclear plant, and they are very happy with that.
How big?
It's the biggest in Europe. It covers 80% of their needs.
Wow.
And they want to have more.
We should learn more about that.
I know, but it's give them, you know, an autonomy they didn't have previously.
Yep. Well, it's very interesting to learn about what you do, and in particular your interests and your projects in Mongolia. And hopefully this project will bring many these exciting advantages you have described.
I'm sure.
And when you think, provided that this agreement is signed shortly, when you think everything will start in full swing?
I think it will be progressive, but if the agreement is signed in this session, already next year we'll have the first stone, and it will come in the years to come. It will, because everything is ready. So we just have to scale up what we have.
Okay, and what is the total investment you are looking for or planning?
It's I cannot give you a precise figure today because it depends on the agreement that we will have. But I will provide you the different scenario if you are interested.
Okay. How optimistic you are with this uranium current high price? Will it stay longer, or?
I think that it's going to stay high. For what we mentioned, that more and more countries are now considering returning to the nuclear energy or starting with new. Mongolia is one of them, but you have discussion also in the Gulf countries. In spite of their oil producing, they are considering the interest of that. You have also discussion in some Southeast Asian and so on. And there will be a return also in the US. So there will be need for uranium. So that will be a very, very good for the foreign trade of Mongolia.
For ordinary citizens, not only of Mongolia, for all around the world, the concern always was, the danger of nuclear power, etc. They don't forget the cases in Russia, in Japan. In that sense of security and safety, what you would comment?
It's not Orano's figure and my figure. It's an independent organism. There are less victims that can be attributed to the nuclear energy than any kind of other energy. Actually, it's a very safe energy. Even in the catastrophes of Fukushima, the fatalities were due to the earthquake and the tsunami, but not to the nuclear plant.
Wow!
So it's a very safe energy.
So with this reliability of nuclear energy and reliability of the project you are doing, and the reliability of our partner Orano, Mongolians will have good days ahead.
I'm looking forward to come again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
За хүн төзөгчтэй өнөөдөр манай фактоны төвийн зочноор одоо Монголд гэрээгээ хийгээд орж ирж байгаа. Ороод ирцэл дээ 20 жил болсон. Одоо энэ үйлдвэрлэлээд өсгөөд ингээ ажиллах гэж байгаа. Энэ Orano группийн ТУЗ-ийн дарга ноён Klod Имовен оролцлоо.
Цэлгэр уужим орон зай. Хараа баясгах үзэмжид харууц. Цэвэр агаар тав тухтай орчин. Тансаг давтагдшгүй өнгө төрх. Таныг илэрхийлэх төгс хийцлэлтэй King Tower. Тавдугаар элчийн орон сууцны загварын байранда та бүхнийг урьж байна. King Tower Apartment.